getting you ready for Sacramento Kings basketball.
He's got the bucket!
Game night is presented by Power Business Technology, your locally aimed and top of your dealer. Contact them at 844-POWER-BZ or visit them at powercopiers.com. Here's your host, Scott Marsh, alongside the high flyer and returner.
Hey, here, good evening to you. Welcome into Game Night. Coming to you live from the Sacktown Sports 1140 studios. Scott Marsh along with the high flyer here. 5:30 tonight. The Kings closing out, going into the All-Star break in the Mile High City. Defending champs, the Nuggets, on the back-to-back. You know, one of the toughest places to have a back in, with elevation, everything else going on, and of course, one of the very best in the league. It will not be easy tonight for the Kings. Kings come in, losers last night, 130 to 125 in Phoenix. And high flyer told me that Monk, Sabonis, and Fox would combine for 97 points with everything else they did, and the Kings would still lose that game. I would not.
Oh, not at all. You would think with scoring that many points, being able to, knock it down at such a high level, thought that would equate to a win. But that just goes to show, it's more things and more ways to win a basketball game than just coming down scoring.
Yeah, if you want to join us, you've got some thoughts, give us a call, 916-339-1140, 1-800-920-1140. Text us as well. We're also up and running in our YouTube chat room. You can log on at YouTube, Sacktown 1140 right there. You're right. I mean, the bottom line is the Kings did more than enough offensively to win that game last night. They just simply could not get a stop last night.
And when you play against good teams, that's pretty much the way it's going to flow. You have to look at it and say, okay, yeah, the Kings were able to score the basketball. Well, guess what? Phoenix was able to score too. So now it becomes a shootout. And really, is the Kings offense that potent more than the opposition this year? Not really. They're number, 7 in the league now?
Yeah, they're just barely in the top 10.
Right. So there's other clubs out there that can outscore you. So you have to do other things to figure out how you're going to win.
You do, and obviously the Suns were without Bradley Beal for most of that game. He only had 5 points, but it didn't really matter because Eric Gordon came in and looked like he was wearing number 3 for the Suns last night.
And see, that's a big problem right there, Scott. When you get lucky enough, and we will call it luck. I mean, we're not wishing, injury on anybody, but we'll call it luck to where Bradley Beal was enabled. He couldn't go. So now you say, okay, they're not a big 3 now. They're a big 2. So you kind of let up a little bit, which you really shouldn't, because you have to understand, guys can come off the bench and have a Bradley Beal type night. And those are things that you don't want to happen. We've already seen what Grayson Allen did to us when, that they were shorthanded. So you really can't take those guys for granted. You have to really go out and just put your stamp in.
I mean, Darren Fox with a monster night.
Big time.
Sabonis. Monster night, 35, 18, and 12. His 18th triple-double year, and obviously Monk off the bench, 22 more. They were spectacular. It was back and forth. I mean, it was definitely a fun game.
Oh, yeah, very entertaining. No doubt. Just from a pure, fan point of view, watching these guys go up and down, we come down and score. They'll we come down to get fouled, get free throw. They come down and do the exact same thing, So that last quarter, man, it really kept you entertained.
Indeed. I'm going to blame myself here. I think I put the jinx on it because last night I talked about the Knicks and the protest they filed in the 2-minute review.
Uh-huh.
Well, the Kings were talking about the 2-minute review. Mike Brown wasn't very happy about a couple non-calls in that game in the last 2 minutes.
I'm pretty sure. But Scott, when you put yourself in those type of situations to where, any little bitty thing can change the outcome of the game. Yeah, you can look at the last 2-minute report, but also you can look at some of the turnovers you had the third quarter, or you can look at some of the missed rebounds. You struggle with. Okay, and then you can look at those 3 minutes where once again, when Phoenix went small, the offense struggled a little bit. I think that's a bigger point of emphasis than just saying, okay, the referees missed calls.
Okay. Well, Mike Brown spent most of the post-game conference talking about it last night. Two in particular that really bothered him. The one, of course, late in the game with Domas with the pump fake. Thought he drew the foul, wasn't called with Booker. That would have been an and one. That would have tied the game. And then, of course, when Phoenix was inbounding the ball in the last 30 seconds and they called the foul before the ball inbounded on Keegan with the grab of the jersey.
Right.
According to Mike Brown, he spoke to the officials about it. Here was his quote. The officials tell me that it's marginal contact because that doesn't affect the shot, but it's a foul. The foul that they called on Keegan, Booker was still going to get open. It was marginal. People hold at the end of the games, and they call that foul because they say it's a foul. They got to make the right call. So he's basically saying there's a double standard.
It sounded like it. Very much sound like it. But, that foul on Sabonis with D-Book was definitely a foul. But I'm sorry, Sabonis, you got to sell it. You have to act like he knocked your head off and you got to fall out and scream and holler to get the referee's attention. Because sometimes if you don't, they're not going to just give you the call.
Yeah. Well, they obviously didn't get the call, but to your point, we can talk about the officials, and we'll see if Mike Brown's going to be a little lighter in the wallet for the second time this year. He didn't bring out the laptop like he did in Milwaukee afterwards. It wasn't like we were a class or a courtroom, but certainly he wasn't happy. That might be worth $25,000.
You know what? It might. Today is Valentine's Day. He might have gave somebody a nice present. I don't know.
Yeah.
But when you go at the referees like that, the league doesn't improve on it. They frown on it, and they hit you in the pocket and make you just a little bit lighter.
Yeah. But to your point, we can talk about those two plays. We can talk about many other. We can talk about a non-block out after a second missed free throw at the line by Booker too. That would have given the chance for the Kings to go down just one possession.
How about that part right there? I mean, when we were sitting here watching the game, I was like, wow, the Kings are going to lose this game because of some of the most fundamental mistakes. Not nothing big, not being outpowered, not being outplayed, just from fundamental type mistakes.
Yeah. Brown also saying 27 fouls on them tonight, 16 on us, including the no calls. Just tough to swallow. I know they're human. They're good guys, good officials, but man, it's tough out there to see your guys work as hard as they work. And we're in position to tie the game with 24 seconds left. Then that foul doesn't even happen with Keegan.
It's part of it, bro.
Yeah, I hear you. It's frustration, obviously.
I understand that too. I understand the frustration, but I tell you what, the same type of energy he's having right now with the referees, it needs to be the same type of energy when you're in practice, when your team, missed 12 free throws.
No doubt. And obviously Fox missed a couple more free throws late in that game.
There it is.
Yeah, there's lots of things we could go over. Of course, our conversation and our look back and the conversation Mike Brown brought to you by Folsom Lake Honda. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. Something that was glaring last night, and another stat, if you told me this before the game, I would have said Kings victory. Points in the paint, the Kings absolutely dominated. It was 72-42.
They killed them. Phoenix big men can do nothing with Sabonis. Not one thing. And, I thought the Kings had figured it out when Phoenix was small. They were still able to utilize Sabonis. But it's one of those things to where you really have to find him and make Coach Vogel make a decision. Either you're going to let Sabonis have his way down low all night, or you're going to go back to your big lineup to where, he can still be very, very effective down there.
Yeah. All right. Our points in the paint brought to you by RT Painting, your reliable and trusted painter in the Sacramento market since 1998. Yeah, staggering numbers for the Kings, but to the point, you can have all these great numbers. You can shoot the ball great. You can have your two stars do everything you want. But the bottom line is, if you can't get some defensive stops, you're not going to win. And that's ultimately what Mike Brown's talking about. I mean, this was a case in point of what Mike Brown's been talking about really since coming to Sacramento, but really this year in particular, is that you can score all the points you want. You can look great and everything else. But when you're playing great teams and you get down to the playoffs, you're not going to win against the best teams in the most crucial situations playing this way.
At some point, that's going to rear its ugly head, say, okay, This is the reason why you don't win. And like you said, Scott, that was the classic case last night because your guys played well offensively.
You got everything out of your best guys.
Your guys played very well offensively. And usually in a regular game, the Kings pretty much win. But when you're playing another basketball team who has just as much or maybe even more firepower than you have to find a different way. If they're matching you, both teams shot the ball particularly well, Scott.
Yeah, they did.
Neither team shot the ball bad.
Nope.
The thing about it is that now you got to find something extra. You got to be able to get steals. You have to be able to get turnovers. You got to knock down your free throws and then execute. You got to execute down the stretch.
Yeah, no doubt. So big game now because Suns and Kings tied 2-2, meaning their last matchup April 12th at Golden One Center will decide the season series. They're only a game and a half separated right now. The Suns currently in the 5th spot, 32-22. The Kings are 30-23, and they're sitting in 8th spot right now, which is in a play-in situation. The Mavs a half game ahead of them. The Kings are just ahead of the Lakers and the Warriors for the top 10 play-in situations. And this is the question I threw out there for the poll question in our YouTube chat today. As we head into the All-Star break and we look back out, what's the most likely scenario for the Kings at the end of the season? Did they end up being a top 4 team in a first-round home playoff bye? Of course, they were 3rd last year. Did they finish somewhere in the top 6 and are seeded in the playoffs, but maybe at 5 or 6 not having a first-round home matchup? Are they in the play-in 7 through 10, or are they out of the playoffs altogether? Now, they're 5 games ahead in the loss column of the Jazz in terms of being out of the play-in altogether. Jazz are 26-28. Jazz, they sold some stuff off before the break. Doesn't look like they're making a move to try and really make a sincere run at the playoffs, but they were playing well until the last few games. What do you think right now? What do you think for the Kings?
I mean, Scooter, okay, I understand All-Star break is coming up.
Yep.
But I honestly feel like, it's a lot more cereal left in the bowl, right? They still have a lot of games to play.
Sure.
So, if they come out and they play the way they did in the first half, or just say the first quarter of the season, they're going to be just fine. They was winning basketball games. But the downside is that this is after All-Star break. Everybody's going to gear up.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to ramp up. The intensity is going to go through the roof. And now you don't have no margin of error. Your margin of error is very, very small. That window is small now, Scott. You can't just look at games and say, oh, well, next game. No, you have to go in and you have to take care of business.
No doubt. And just like I said, they're 5 games out of being out of the play-in altogether in the loss column. They're 5 games away from moving into a top 4 spot too right now. The Nuggets have 18 losses, Kings at 23. So that's how high the climb is to try and get into a top 4 spot like they were last year.
And Scott, and I really like that for the Sacramento Kings because, you still have control over your own destiny. The worst thing as a team that you want to happen is that when you're coming down the stretch, you're trying to do everything you can possibly do to win a game, but you're still looking at other standings and other teams saying, okay, we need, Golden State to lose against Memphis, and we need the Pelicans to beat OKC. You don't want to have to talk about that. You want to take control of your own destiny and say, you know what, fellas, we right where we need to be. Don't worry about it. Whatever happens down there, it's going to happen. We just need to take care of us.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, a chance against Denver tonight to win the season series against Denver. Most likely won't come down to tiebreakers against them, but every Western Conference game critical. The Nuggets are going to be without a couple of key pieces. We'll get you caught up on the Kings injury report as well. Game night's underway. We're coming to you live from the Sacktown Sports 1140 studios. If you want to join us, 916-339-1140. What's your thoughts on the Kings' most likely scenario as we are starting to think about end-of-year possibilities? Is it a top 4 seed? Is it 5 or 6? Is it play-in 7 through 10, or just out of the playoffs altogether? You can vote in our Sacktown poll on YouTube. You can call us with your thoughts on that as well. Game night, as always, brought to you by our good friends at Power Business Technology. Experience for yourself how the Power of Family can help you with all your business copier needs. Give them a call today, 1-844-POWER-BZ, or go to powercopiers.com. More of Game Night right here, Sacktown Sports 1140.
All right, we are live on YouTube.
Kyle, what do you got, buddy?
So I'm looking at the results of your poll question. It's a dead split 50-50 between the 5 or the 6 seed and the play-in 7 versus 10, except for one person who thinks the world is ending and that they're going to miss the playoffs altogether.
That feels like it's not going to happen. I mean, the Kings would have to really collapse for that to happen.
One person thinks the world's ending. Everyone else, it's a dead split between 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe 9, depending on what the Warriors do.
Well, it makes sense because just as much for the Kings to try to get into a top 4 situation, it's just as tough that way because they're 5 games back in the loss column in that scenario. And they're also 5 games up in the scenario in terms of at least making the play in. And really, that's what you look at is the losses at the end of the day. Not everybody's played equal number of games, but at the end, you're going to look at the total number of losses because all these season schedules will even out here.
And that makes sense because going into yesterday, there were 5 games left to be played between the teams 5 through 8. And there was still a scenario where the Kings could have ended up as the 5, the 6, the 7, or the 8. All were in play going into yesterday. So those ones are tight knit, which I've been laughing at because this was exactly the same scenario as last year in the playoffs, where the Kings were the 3 seed. They knew they were going to be the 3 seed, and it was carnage between spots 5 through 10. And now the Kings happen to be a big part of that carnage. And it seems like people are kind of, well, we might end up as the 7. We might end up as the 6. The difference between that might come down to the literal last day of the season.
No doubt. And it is a little worrisome just in the sense that you got as good a game offensively from Fox as you could hope for. You got an incredible game from Sabonis. You got everything from Monk off the bench, and that still wasn't good enough when you got 3 super offensive performances.
Not on the defensive end.
No, you did not.
And see, that's the thing, Scott. You know, your guys played Herculean on the offensive end. They did exactly what they needed to do, but you're playing against a good quality basketball team. Just being able to knock down shots is not going to really just, equate to a win for you. You got to find some other ways to, to manifest different things out there on the floor.
You do. And now, statistically, the Kings net are a better defensive team. But when you look at nights like last night, are they really a better defensive team than they were last year?
I don't see it.
It's the same group of guys.
They definitely got the same group of guys.
Yeah, sure.
And really, can you really be mad at this team because they're still playing the exact same way they played last year? You got the same group of guys.
No, but the hope was they would get better, right? The chemistry and everything else was so good that this group would take a step up.
Well, I thought that, I thought JaVale McGee coming here was going to really help solidify the defense. And, some of the other guys were going to get better, but that still hasn't happened yet.
Has not happened yet.
Yeah, we'll give it time.
Your business printing needs at 844-POWER-BZ. That's 844-769-3729 or visit us at powercopiers.com.
Welcome back into Game Night right here, Sacktown Sports, 1140. Scott Marshall on with the High Flyer, Henry Turner. We'll be with you until 5:30 tonight, getting you ready for Kings Live pregame. Jason Ross in for that with Henry. G-Man will join. 6 o'clock tip. The Kings finish out what is considered the first half of the year, but we know it's way more than the first half of the season. It's not like it's 2 equal parts to the season. The Kings will have played 2/3 of their schedule after tonight, roughly. So it'll be a race to the finish. Henry, one thing we'll get back into Kings, but we didn't get a chance to talk about it. It's obviously Super Bowl and Steve Wilkes getting fired today, defensive coordinator for the 49ers. How was it for you? You were on vacation. I know you're a big Niners fan. Have you processed all of that yet?
Oh, yeah. I was sitting there watching the game and, checking everything out. And, the bad thing about it is that, when you are a team like the Niners, everything was going your way. You're the darlings of the NFL. And, everybody thinks that, okay, well, they're going to make it happen. This is their game to lose. And then they come up short. Well, you knew somebody had to fall on the sword. Somebody was going to get knifed. It was no way that this organization was going to say, okay, everything is okay. We're going to spin the block. No. Somebody's got to answer for something.
Yeah, no question. You could tell there was tension with Shanahan and Wilkes throughout the year. And Shanahan taking that timeout to switch the defensive set in the second half of that game. So I'm not surprised there either. But I'll tell you, my feeling was when Kansas City was getting the ball back in overtime, I felt like a Kings fan with Steph Curry getting the ball back with about 3 seconds left.
Too much time.
Down 2 points.
Too much time. You know, that's why when you look at that scenario, Scott, you're like, okay, you're given arguably the best quarterback we've seen in the past 15 years time.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that he will be able to kill you with is you give him enough time. Yeah. He's going to make something happen. And he's not a quarterback that's going to make something good happen. He's a quarterback that's going to make something great happen.
Yeah.
You know, same thing we did with Steph Curry. Same thing we did with Dame Lillard. You give those guys, this is why they are who they
no doubt
are.
That's what it was. It was Dame Lillard getting the ball back in overtime when Mahomes. Great. It's the same analogy, isn't it?
It's the
overtime
same
situation.
It's the same analogy. You go down and you score, you feel good. Yeah. But when you look up at the clock, you're like, oh, Lord, they got 4 seconds left. And look who has the ball.
Yep. It was trouble. Heck of a game, though. Heck of a game. All right. Follow-up stuff from yesterday. Of course, the Suns, one of their biggest shots came from a guy they just signed in Royce O'Neal. That 3 he hit was absolutely huge in that game.
That 3 didn't bother me as much as the almost mid-court heave at the buzzer by the I keep forgetting his name, the guy that killed his last game.
Grayson Allen,
yes. Yeah, I'm like, if he hits this, he just chunked it towards the rim.
Oh, yeah, you're talking earlier, the 3-point desperation.
Yes, the 3-point desperation shot by him. I'm like, give me a break.
Yeah, that was a definite gift, no doubt about it. But the Suns, obviously being aggressive, they picked up O'Neal, they picked up David Roddy, they're signing Thaddeus as well. What about the Kings? Anybody you'd want to see them pick up off the waiver? Anybody interesting? Gallinari's out there. There's a few others.
I mean, this is the problem that the Kings have right now. Early on, we were talking about filling 2 spots, you know, the 2 spot and the 3 spot. And I mean, I would really like to know, okay, do the Kings feel, you know, safe with Harrison Barnes now, seeing that he didn't came out and gave you a couple of very good games, you know, high career scoring point games. Are you feeling good about keeping him on the squad? Or is he going to go back into the shell that he once was in? You know, same thing with Kevin Huerter. You know, are you feeling good that Kevin Huerter's back and he's going to be the guy that's going to be able to give you that offensive punch, that long range 3-point barrage? Is he going to be able to be that guy consistently?
Yep.
That's the word for the Kings. So when you look at outside and see what they have, do you really want to bring somebody in, or do you really want to watch these guys and give it one more go? I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's a tough call because Barnes was so good right up to the All-Star break. Now, last night, 9 points, took 8 shots, 5 rebounds, no assists. I mean, really nobody else besides the big 3 did much. I mean, Keegan was 3 of 9 for 6 points. Huerter was 4 of 6, had 10 points. So,
and you know, you're going to definitely have to do something. I don't know if you run plays for him because, like I said, I don't see the Sacramento Kings running plays. I just see them having a free flowing offense. But you're going to have to be able to get him more involved some way, somehow, because to let Keegan Murray just take that many shots, I think that's a waste of talent.
He's got to get more than 6 shots.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. Keegan Murray has to get 10 to 12 shots, sometimes 14 shots a night.
Yeah. How much is it on him and how much is it on the coaching staff?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I mean, you know, you have an offense that you run. All right, it's a free-flowing offense. Everybody touches the ball. You know, it's a read and react offense. So can you really say, fellas, run Keegan's number? Well, there is no number.
Yeah.
You know, Keegan's going to have to be aggressive once he does touch the ball.
Yeah, no question. And that's the thing when you get your 2 or 3 best scorers doing what they did, it's at the expense of everybody else, and that might be part of the issue too. That happened last night for Sacramento. All right, Nuggets are the task at hand. Henry, explain to us because you played in the league, you played back-to-backs, you know what it's like, especially in Denver. And I know you're not a huge proponent of the back-to-back and the conversation about it, but do you give an exception with a back-to-back in Denver?
Oh, yes, sir. I definitely put a stamp on that one, Scott. You know, back-to-backs are part of the game. You know how I feel about that.
I know.
Everybody has to go through them.
Play it.
But it's a different scenario when you're going into Boston. I mean, excuse me, when you're going into Denver.
Yep.
The altitude, it's real. It's not just the myth. It's a thing. It definitely happens. And especially when you just came off of, a high octane game like you did against Phoenix, and you have to turn right back around and go up to the Mile High and deal with that altitude. It's tough. Yeah. It's tough. I'm not saying it can't be done, but what I'm saying is it's tough. It really tests who you are.
Yeah. Well, the Kings have that test today. When we come back, we're going to go around the league. We'll get caught up on the other games going on. How about this? Sources reporting that the Warriors were making a move to try and sign LeBron at the trade deadline. How about that one? We'll talk about that a little bit and a lot more. If you want to join us, 916-339-1140. You can call or text. And of course, we're up and running in our YouTube chat at Sacktown 1140 as well. Join us for our poll question. What's the most likely season ending outcome for the Kings? Top 4, 5, or 6, play in 7 through 10, or out of the playoffs altogether. We'd love your thoughts. This is Game Nights, brought to you by Big Brothers and Big Sisters of Sacramento. If you're interested in being a mentor for a kid in need in our community, please consider Big Brothers and Big Sisters. Call 916-646-9300 or go to bbbs-sac.org to learn all about becoming a volunteer mentor. That's bbbs-sac.org. More of Game Night right here, Sacktown Sports 1140.
All right, we're live on YouTube.
Okay, has the poll changed at all, or?
I think a couple people were in the camp of top 4 seed now, but it's still pretty consistently a split between the 5 to 6 spots and the 7, 8, 9, 10 position.
Yeah, that's the most likely scenario.
Yeah,
for sure.
But a handful of people are feeling optimistic, and still one person, the world is ending, and the Kings are going to completely fall off the table for one individual.
No doubt. Let's see here. Things going around the league.
Well, there's an interesting story that Shams just put out.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Within the last 15, so the Pistons are playing in Phoenix tonight.
Yes.
And apparently in the back tunnels of the arena, Isaiah Stewart for the Detroit Pistons punched Phoenix's Drew Eubanks in the face, and apparently the league is getting involved to try and figure out what's going on here.
Wow.
So the game hasn't even started yet. It won't tip off till I think like 7 o'clock local time. But 2.5 hours before the game, or 3 hours before the game, we have fisticuffs between Isaiah Stewart, who famously was the one who tried to like chase LeBron down the tunnel in Detroit a few years ago.
That's right. Wow. Wonder what that's all about.
I don't know. It's just kind of random players. The way he made it seem is that it was like a real fight. He made it clear that he landed contact.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So that's what's going on around the league right now.
Fair enough. How about this? This is a non-news situation. Adam Silver coming out and saying that Las Vegas is in consideration for an expansion team. Tell us something that we don't know, right?
The question is just whether or not LeBron's going to get the expansion team or not.
What? Oh, you think he's going to buy a team?
LeBron's been angling for years to try and get the expansion team in Las Vegas, publicly actually too. He's gone as far as to say, Adam, I want that expansion team in Vegas.
That would be interesting. Let's see here. What else do we have going on tonight?
Here's a question for you, Scott.
Go for it. Yep.
Let's say, because they're building the arena in Las Vegas as we speak.
Yes. Let's
say that Las Vegas does get a team.
Yeah.
You couldn't play and be an owner of a basketball team, could you? That's like a conflict of interest.
No, they wouldn't let you do that.
No, but LeBron will be retired before the Vegas team comes in.
They're building. They're starting to move sites for the baseball team. I mean, the basketball team would play at T-Mobile where the hockey team is.
Okay.
Yeah. So that the facility's already there in Vegas.
Yeah.
It's not a matter of building anything.
I think it'll be like 5 to 10 years before they add 2 expansion teams, which
Ooh,
everyone kind
I
of.
don't think it'll be that long. I don't think so. No, once that TV contract gets figured out next year, I think it's going to be sooner.
Believe me, a year or 2 at the most.
I agree. It's going to be Vegas and it's going to be Seattle.
Right.
Yes, 100%. Those are the 2 places.
Yeah.
And then
think there's a lot of suspense about that one.
maybe there'll be a couple more after that. Who knows? All right, we're coming back.
Okay.
Of the night right there. It's inside is Sabonis. A two-hand rip. A brilliant pass from De'Aaron Fox.
KHTKAM Sacramento. KYMX HD2 Sacramento.
Sacktown Sports.
Welcome back in the game night right here, Sacktown Sports, 1140. Scott Marshall on with the high flyer, Henry Turner. It's the final game before the All-Star break. The Kings, where would you go during the break? What was your favorite place to go?
You know, mine's changed because when I first came into the league, I didn't have kids.
Yeah.
So, and then my second time around, I had kids. So, it was Disney World for us.
Okay.
You know, it was, time to take the kids out and, have a little vacation, relax. So we went to Florida.
Nice. Cancun before that?
No, Cancun wasn't big back then. It was more so Hawaii. The first All-Star break I hit Hawaii. And then when I came back into the league, it was more so, Orlando and doing things like that for the kids.
And of course, the break's a lot longer now than it was when you were playing too.
Right. We basically had a weekend, maybe
4 days max.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday you had to be back at it. And that was if your team let you leave. Some teams didn't let their players leave. It was like, okay, it's All-Star break, but you guys got to be here. You guys got to be working out.
Yeah. The Kings have 8 days off. They will not play again until being back at home. On the 22nd, they will take on Victor Wembanyama. The first time he'll be in Golden One Center. That'll be fun. Next Thursday night, of course, Kings and Nuggets. We'll break it down in our next segment. Let's go around the league a little bit. And Kyle, why don't you share that story that's just been reported? Some altercations going on in Phoenix right now.
Yeah, so Detroit plays Phoenix later tonight. And according to Sean Sarania, Isaiah Stewart of the Pistons, famous for that one time he chased LeBron down the hallway in Detroit trying to fight him.
He didn't want no smoke.
Isaiah Stewart apparently punched Phoenix's Drew Eubanks in the back tunnels of the Suns arena. It's unclear what sparked the altercation. Apparently, follow-up, they went chest to chest before a swing to Eubanks' face connected on Wednesday. Both were separated, and there is a police presence involved with the situation.
Uh-oh, maybe he is about that life.
That is saucy, to say the least.
Maybe he is about that life.
It'll be interesting to see what actually happens there. And we should also throw out our sincere thoughts and prayers with everybody in Kansas City right now.
Yeah, that's
the
crazy.
Whole parade. It's
that's
awful,
crazy.
Horrible, sad. If you haven't heard, there was a shooting at the end of the parade for the Chiefs today. One person at least was killed, others injured, and just, it's hard to believe, right?
It's terrible, because you're coming together to celebrate. Celebrate. I mean, the ultimate championship, the ultimate win. Everybody should be on the same page, having fun and enjoying it. But instead, you have some knuckleheads to do stuff like that. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. 2 people are apprehended and in custody. That's the good part of that story, if there is any, which there honestly really isn't. You mentioned LeBron, Kyle. So let's talk about LeBron here, because there was a report put out. This was by Woj and Ramona Shelburne, who are both 2 of the best beat reporters on the NBA. They said that over a 24-hour window during the trade deadline last Thursday, the Warriors made an unsuccessful bid to try and convince the Lakers and LeBron James to consider a trade to pair him with Steph Curry.
Unsuccessful bid?
Well, we know that LeBron's staying in LA, so certainly unsuccessful in that respect, right?
I wonder how much, or if any, because I'm pretty sure LeBron has a no trade clause in his contract.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yes, he does.
But I'm wondering, though, how much contact or how much information that they relay back to LeBron if a team said they're interested.
Well, according to this, neither the Lakers nor LeBron were willing to explore the trade.
Okay, so LeBron. So
Yes.
basically, LeBron knew.
He nixed it. Yeah. What would the Warriors have given up?
That's what I'm wondering.
Would have been Draymond, Clay. What else?
It would not have been Draymond because Draymond was the one talking to Rich Paul, trying to facilitate convincing LeBron to come. So it either would have been Clay as the centerpiece of the deal or
Wiggins.
Yeah, Wiggins plus all the young players, basically.
Yeah, you're right. Green was the one who kind of wanted to put this together with Joe Lacob, according to the story.
Or theoretically, maybe Chris Paul gets traded in the deal just to match salaries or something. But I think the likeliest option would have been Wiggins plus the young guys.
That's pretty interesting stuff right there. Obviously did not come through. The Warriors and Lakers right now are two teams that are certainly playing a lot better right now. They're both in playing situations. The Lakers are actually 3 games above 500 right now.
Yeah, they're finding their way to win. But at the end of the day, isn't it crazy? We're talking about Lakers and Warriors in the play-in already.
True. And of course, that was a play-in matchup last year.
Right.
So as it shakes out right now, it would be again this year. The Warriors are 26-25. They've won 5 straight. 7 of their last 10. They're 8-4 since Draymond's come back. The Lakers have won 7 of their last 10. They're 29-26. Kings are only 3 games ahead of them in the loss column right now.
Yeah, and really have to be careful coming out of this All-Star break. They're going to have to be playing some of their best basketball because, I said it once and I'll say it again. Most teams are ramping up their guys, man, to get them going to play their best basketball right after All-Star.
Yep, they are. As we said yesterday on this show, Shaquille O'Neal getting his jersey retired in Orlando. That happened yesterday, the first member of the Magic to have that done. And for Shaquille, he becomes in the Wilt fame now. He's only the second player in NBA history to have 3 different teams retire his jersey.
Who's the other?
Wilt.
So Wilt has Lakers.
Wilt and Shaquille. Yeah, Wilt is Philadelphia.
Lakers.
Lakers.
San Francisco Warriors.
Yeah,
76ers.
it was 2 different Philadelphia teams, right? When Philadelphia came out here. So Warriors, Lakers, and Sixers. That's correct.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So pretty impressive stuff on his part. All right, let's take a look at some of the games. We'll go back and look at last night first and then get you caught up on all the games going on tonight in the association as well. Of course, Kings were on TNT last night. The early game was Celtics and Nets. Boston won that one 118-110. Tatum had 31 at the half. He ended up with 41 in that game. Thunder winning again 127-113. OKC is now 20 games above 500.
They are playing very good basketball. And the one thing that's very scary about them, Scott, all those guys are young. They can keep that core together for another 7-8 years. All of those guys are young and hungry to play.
Yeah, and SGA, another huge night, 33 points. Jalen Williams, who's been incredible this year for them as well. He's got 33 points. SGA right now, in terms of possibilities of winning MVP, he is the second most likely candidate to win MVP right now.
I was about to say, he's high up there in the hunt.
Yeah.
Seeing that Joel Embiid went down.
Yep.
Jokic probably still is the favorite, but SJE is right. He's right behind him.
Yep. All right. Bucks give up 123 to a Heat team that was missing all sorts of players last night in Milwaukee. They lose 123-97. So just as we were talking about, maybe the Bucks are figuring things out defensively. Well, not so much.
They go down.
And Damian Lillard has scored under 20 points, like in four of the 5 games he's played for Doc.
Really?
Yeah. I wonder if there's any trend line with that.
Have no idea. I mean, it's too early to know,
Sure,
Scott.
it is.
I mean, I honestly haven't even seen them play since Doc has been coaching.
Yeah, so interesting there. Timberwolves win on the back-to-back in Portland, 121-109. They definitely are for real, no question about that. All right, games today. You've got Charlotte and Atlanta. Hornets leading 61-55. Magic and Knicks. Orlando's up 65-55 in this one. Of course, it's the last day before the All-Star getaway for most teams. 76ers leading the Heat at the half, 62-60. Maxi's got 17. Celtics and Nets going after it again, 34-17 C's in that one. Bulls and Cavs. Chicago on top 32-25. Indiana and the Raptors through 1. They're tied in that game. Rockets and Grizz, Wiz and Pelicans. You've got the Spurs and Mavs. Pistons and the Suns. We already talked about that, what's going on in Phoenix in that game. Lakers and Jazz. And then the marquee game tonight, Clips and Warriors in Golden State tonight.
That's going to be the game right there.
Mm-hmm.
The Clippers and the Golden State Warriors. Both teams are pretty much on a roll. They're playing good basketball. Who's going to be able to pull this one out?
Yeah, that'll be fun to watch. Of course, the game we're most interested in, Kings and Nuggets. When we come back, we'll break it all down. We'll talk about the Joker, who the Nuggets will have for this game tonight. We'll get you to our Arnold Law Firm injury report as well. It's game night. It's being brought to you right here on Sacktown Sports 1140.
Alrighty, we are live on YouTube. I followed up on your question about the LeBron trade. If they packaged Chris Paul and Wiggins and Kuminga together, that would be a package that worked. If they wanted Chris Paul to stick around, they would have to give up GP2. But is it weird to say I think they'd rather keep GP2 than Chris Paul at this point?
Oh, I think so.
Yeah. So,
no, because he's the future.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they would rather keep GP2.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy to say, but they would rather keep Gary Payton than Hall of Famer Chris Paul.
I mean, but you have to really understand, Chris Paul is probably a one and done with Golden State. They knew that. He's going to only be here for 1 year. Let's see if we can get this done.
Yeah, so the deal would be Chris Paul, Wiggins, and Kuminga, and then I don't know what the draft pick situation would look like, but that would make the money work at least, and then the Lakers would just have to toss in like Gabe Vincent or something as a salary filler. So it'd probably be Chris Paul, Wiggins, and Kuminga.
We don't have to worry about it.
Oh, I think I would try to keep Kuminga and then maybe send Clay.
Send Clay out instead? Okay.
Yep.
Well, they definitely would rather do that. Kuminga's their second best player right now.
I would rather keep him and send Clay out.
Yeah, I think when the playoffs roll around, if they're going to get anywhere, I think they need Clay to start playing like their number 2, or at least go in with the mindset that Clay is their number 2. But him and Kuminga, like we talked about yesterday, Scott, Kuminga, since he said he didn't believe in Steve Kerr anymore, is averaging the exact same number of points as Klay Thompson.
Yeah, he's a believer now.
I guess so. Something changed for him over 21
games. They've worked that out. It's called Draymond's suspension. That's the bottom line. That's why Kuminga is now playing like he is, because he had to play.
I guess that whenever they fix the rotations, and now Kuminga looks like the player that they hoped he would be when they drafted him, which is the number 3 on a team that has Steph Curry.
And you know what, Kyle? And sometimes all it takes is a young man to start getting some playing time, get rooted into, okay, I know I'm playing for X amount of time, and whoever else that was here before me is not looking down my back. And you go out there and you get comfortable, man, and then you give it your chance to shine.
Maybe that's what ended up happening there. They needed someone to desperately step up. And I think also Chris Paul's injury probably changed some of the rotation ideas for them, because with him out of the lineup, it felt like it cleared up a lot of the congestion that they had, kind of in terms of like trying to find minutes on the floor for people.
Yeah, but Paul's coming back, so they're going to have to figure out how to put it all together.
Yeah, but I think at this point they have the one that's interesting is Looney. Like they haven't put Looney on the floor as much as they normally would, but I would presume the starting lineup is going to be Chris Paul, Steph, Chris Paul probably comes off the bench again like he did before. So it's probably, slide him as the 6th man at this point, and then Looney off the bench, and they run a small lineup.
That's probably what they'll do. Depends on the matchups, of course.
Yeah, because I think Steph, Clay, Draymond, Kuminga are going to have to be on the floor, and then Wiggins is probably the last one there still.
Yep. All right. Any update on our poll? Anything else in the chat?
In the last 15 seconds, I'll check real quick. The 5-6 seed has taken the lead, so the optimism has slightly prevailed over the play-in tournament team.
ScheduleCovidVax.com, sponsored by Pfizer.
Welcome back in the game now right here, Sacktown Sports 1140. Scott Marshall along with the High Flyer, Henry Turner. We've got Trojan CBB in the chat. Always good to hear from him. Saying Scott is pouring salt in the wounds right now. Not pouring salt in the wounds, just we're talking about what's been going on. I mean, I think if you look at the standings between the Kings, they're 30-23. They're 5 games out of being a top 4 team, but they're 5 games out of being in the playoffs altogether. They're right in that middle ground.
Right.
It's fair to ask where they're going to end.
You know, like I said, they are a basketball team that can take control over their own destiny. It's a lot more games to be played. And if they come out and they play the way they can, you know, well, they'll be in that either 6th spot or higher. And I think if the Kings can do that, that's a successful year in my book.
Yep. And we were discussing that yesterday. To me, I don't know. I think it'd be hard to call the Kings year successful if they're not as successful as they were last year, you know, which I guess – your definition of making the playoffs, losing the first round would be successful. I guess I would say, I don't know if it's successful if they don't get a step better than that, but the Western Conference is definitely better. There's no question about that. And I do think it would set off an off season where the Kings would have to do something major.
Yeah, they would definitely have to make a move.
Yeah.
And you know, and I was guilty of saying this. They have to make a move regardless to what happened this year.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're not a championship team.
Yep.
So that's the end all be all goal for Coach Brown. So until that happens, they're going to have to make moves to get better.
Yep. All right. Let's take a look at the injury report for tonight. The injury report, as always, being brought to you by the Arnold Law Firm, providing justice for you since 1975. If you're injured, call the Arnold Law Firm, 916-777-7777. For the Kings tonight, we know that Sasha Vezenkov will be out. Again, he's going to miss 4 to 6 weeks. Ankle sprain in practice last Saturday. Tough one for the Kings. They'll be without their guy they went and got from Europe over the summer. And Trey Lyles, who did not play last night, looks like he'll be available. We'll have more information on that in Kings Live pregame. As for the Nuggets, they're going to be without Jamal Murray. And they're going to be without Contavious Caldwell-Pope. So, again, just like how the Kings caught them here last week when they rolled them on Friday night, the Kings got an excellent chance because the Nuggets are empty-handed.
Yeah, when you're missing your starting point guard and your starting number 2, that's 2 big pieces of what they do. So if there's ever a chance to catch Denver on a backslide, this is the time. And you're going to need this because you're at their house on their floor.
No doubt. They still have the Joker, though.
Oh, yeah.
They'll be ready to roll. How about this? It is, I won't say shocking to me, but it is certainly, it's a testament to how good Sabonis, the year he's having. He's got more double-doubles than the Joker. He's got more triple-doubles than the Joker. He's got 18. Joker has just 15 right now. And
still can't get on the All-Star team. You know, that's one thing to where, yeah, Mike Brown, your money was spent wisely. To go off about Sabonis not being an all-star is rightfully so.
It is pretty crazy, the numbers that Sabonis has been putting up, especially, you know, when you look at the Big Cat. And I understand Minnesota's having a great year. I get that, but the numbers just aren't comparable between those two. They're not even close.
I mean, I would even say even the street clothes Davis too. I mean, Sabonis is killing all of these guys. If you just look at straight the numbers, he deserves to be there. So, you know, you have to wonder, what's the other criteria? Because it can't be just numbers alone, because if it is, you're missing a guy.
Yep. All right. Denver comes in, and they've had 2 clunkers as well. As we know, they got blown out here on Friday night. They went and got blown out in Milwaukee. Every team gets blown out in the league a little bit. They had that dramatic win at LA, and then they came here on the second half of the back-to-back. So you could maybe excuse that one a little bit. Denver overall still one of the best teams in the league. They come in 36-18. They're 21-4 at home. One of the best home court records, and that's not a surprise, right?
Not at all, Scott. You know, and with the Sacramento Kings just recently beating up on the Denver Nuggets, they're not going to be happy, and I'm pretty sure they haven't forgot what happened in G1. So it's going to be a little extra out there on the floor tonight.
Yeah, we talked about it. The Joker's numbers are slightly down, but I think especially without Embiid not being in the running any longer, it's Joker's to lose.
Oh, for sure. And, you know, and if SGA keeps playing the way that he's playing, he's going to get, you know, a lot of votes inside also.
Yeah. Jamal Murray, is he kind of like a Sabonis in the respect he doesn't get the respect that he deserves?
I think so. I mean, for what he's done on that basketball team and how he's played, he's definitely a top 10 guard in this league.
Yeah, what he averaged 26 in the finals. I want to say 6 assists, 5 rebounds, something like that.
Well, I say this, they don't get it done without him.
No doubt. That's the 1-2 punch for sure. And I mean, the Nuggets have more than just that, of course. But those that are two main guys, without a doubt.
Right. You know, I mean, I like Michael Carter too. I think he's a very good young player.
Michael Porter.
Yes, Michael Porter.
Yep.
But, you know, you're definitely going to need your guard. You can still get some games without Michael.
Yeah, no doubt. As you look at it in the West, Nuggets are 4th right now. I mean, they are the defending champs. So does that make them the team to beat?
They're going to be always the team to beat until they get knocked out. I give the champs that edge. I have to, because they did exactly what it took to get there last year. So you have to give them that respect until they lose. And then you say, okay, Denver don't have it anymore.
Yeah. Who's the team you think has the best chance of upending them? Is it somebody in the West, or would it have to get to the NBA Finals?
I honestly think that if Minnesota is still playing at a very high level, I think they have the personnel to make it happen, because, you know, they start and end with the Joker.
Yep.
And when you are a basketball team like Minnesota, you have Cat and you have Rudy Gobert. You have 2 very good big men that you can throw down there at him and kind of try to slow him down.
Mm-hmm. Is there any way to compare where Sacramento's at now versus where Denver was at 2 or 3 years ago, in the sense that Denver just kept building and building? There were some people who even wanted them to get rid of Michael Malone after they lost in the first round playoff series. They didn't have it. They kept the course, and they were able to make the trade for Aaron Gordon, which catapulted them. Obviously, they made the great draft pick of Michael Porter Jr. Do you feel like you can look at the Kings to maybe where the Nuggets were a few years ago in terms of how they're building things?
Oh, no doubt. I mean, they're pretty much in a mirror type situation, Scott. You just said it.
Yeah.
You know, having a couple of good players, and then all of a sudden now you got to go out and you have to add some players. You have to go out and find you some free agents, and then you draft very well. The Kings have drafted very well with Keegan Murray. So, you really have to build this thing methodically. It isn't something that you can just throw together. You have to be very smart in how you do it.
Game night being brought to you by National Garage Door. Call today for your basketball special, 916-638-4554. I guess the thing, of course, with Denver, you knew that the Joker was the guy you could build around.
Oh, no doubt.
No doubt. Do the Kings have the guy you can build around, or the combination of Fox and Sabonis? Can you build around those two to get where you want to get?
Oh, I really feel comfortable that you could build around those two, because, they can be interchangeable. So what you do is you have those two as your staples, and then you go out and you get some complementary players.
All right. How about for tonight, as you look at this one? Obviously, it's the last game before the All-Star break. Second night of a back-to-back. This is one of these games you have to gut and grind through tonight.
You're going to have to dig deep, Scott. But at the end of the day, you're going to have to get some stops. Mm-hmm. You're going to have to be able to stop Denver. I don't think you're going to go in there with this altitude and be able to have that high-octane offense and just straight outscore them.
Yeah, it's different there in Denver versus Sacramento, but the Kings have had pretty good success against them so far here this year.
Right. I mean, played very well against them, but you're in Denver the last game, and you just played one hell of a game last night.
Yeah, it's not going to be easy. And obviously, Denver wants some payback, too. Not only for the 2 losses to Sacramento, but the fact they've lost 2 games as well. They want to get out on the All-Star break on a good note as well.
They're just like everybody else. They're in the locker room saying, okay, fellas, we're making the All-Star break push. Let's finish strong.
Yep. All right. That's going to do it for game night. As always, High Flyer. Good to work with you. Have a great call tonight. Yes, sir. All right. Game night brought to you by Mercedes-Benz of Stockton. Check out their full line of luxury vehicles at mbofstockton.com. When we come back, it'll be time for Kings Live pregame. Jason Ross sits in this seat here. High Flyer stays. Gary Gerald will join them. Gary will have the call tonight. It's the Kings and the Nuggets. It's their first of 2 trips to Denver. They'll play 4 times this year. If Sacramento can win tonight, they'll win the season series against Denver, and they'll go into the All-Star break with their 31st win of the year. Keep it tuned here all evening long. Sacramento Kings basketball coming your way right here on Sacktown Sports 1140.